I finally finished reading Babel, and I'm gonna give thanks to my Kindle, which I was sleeping on. For years, I told myself I would never get a Kindle because I love print. I love print books. I felt like a Kindle was like doing away with the tradition of hardcover and paperbacks. I'm a hardcover girly, and I'm not gonna lie, I was speeding through books reading through my Kindle. I had to take a pause on reading Babel because it was so long. I've read longer books, but something about Babel and some of the scenes, I was like, this is unnecessary. This is dragging. So I had to pause on it. However, I'm glad I came back and finished, and I sped through it with my Kindle. I have some final notes. I made a separate post I posted like maybe a month ago about the first half of Babel and how I was finding it and how I enjoyed it, and some final ones here for how the book ended. So, spoilers ahead if you have not read Babel, stop watching this right now. My final thoughts are centered around the Hermes Society and how they represent the need for radical action when faced with radical ignorance. And when I say that, I mean the opposing party, whoever is harming you, knows that they're harming you but refuses to acknowledge it and stop what they're doing because it benefits them. Now, I of course came with some citations. On page 489, it says he had fully converted now to Griffin's theory of violence, that the oppressor would never sit down at the negotiating table when they still thought they had nothing to lose. No, things had to get bloody. Now, this is Robin's thoughts, and if you recall, at the beginning of the story, Robin was kind of a pussy. Okay, I was trying to find a nice word for it, but he was, and I don't want to. I don't say that to denigrate him, but he lived a traumatic life. He was brought to England, a foreign country, after his mother died, and he almost died from sickness, living with this man he knows as his father, but refuses to acknowledge him as his son. Forced to learn a foreign language, at least fully, and contribute his knowledge of his own culture and language to an institution that is plotting to start a war with his country to steal their resources. Now, Hermes Society, when they approached Robin, he was hesitant because Babel gave him a monthly stipend to live a good life. He was learning for free on a scholarship. He had an opportunity before him that a lot of people in his former position would never get. So he felt indebted to Babel. However, as more time went on, he saw how Babel really operated. They weren't just about the pursuit of knowledge and sharing knowledge throughout the world and language. They were about entering foreign countries with the languages that and resources they have taken from them and further taking from them. So, for example, he was speaking to Mr. Bayless, and I can't remember if he was an actual professor at Babel or he just worked with them, telling Mr. Bayless it's wrong for you to plan to sell opium to China because it's highly addictive and it's known to spread very quickly and it'll basically topple their economy. And Mr. Bayless is like, so? This is not forcing it down their throats. This is a free market. Free market means we should all be able to trade regardless of the harm of whatever I'm trading. Now, China didn't, at least this general in China, recognized this is not a good deal. He didn't want this. And this is something that Mr. Bayless and Mr. Playfair and everyone else anticipated and actually wanted to happen. They wanted him to refuse their deal, so they had an excuse to start a war with China so they can come take their silver. And I had to put the book down when that realization came out because Robin found the letter in his father's den after he killed his father, and basically saying how they plotted this from the beginning. And I had to put the book down because I know this happens in real life. Okay, there are so many places that are taken advantage of by foreign countries that plot to topple their economies, not even caring that there are real people living there who will suffer from this because they want their resources. It's sad. In this book, just circling back to this book, because if I talk about real life, I'm going to start getting upset. I wanted them to win against England and the whole institution. Even though this is a widespread problem worldwide, I wanted them to win. However, as I kept reading, I was really thinking to myself, how can R.F. Kuang write them winning against something that is so pervasive? Okay, like I couldn't imagine it. But I think the book ended on a good and hopeful note. Hermes Society is still out there, even though Rami is dead. God, that really hurt me. I feel like I knew it was coming. Like the core four was not gonna survive. I think it shocked me that Letty did it because she claimed to love them so much. But Letty is a product of her environment. There was no way she was gonna choose them over England. I'm glad Victoire got out, and I have some hope that she's going to continue on the work with the Hermes Society. And I'm very proud of Robin. He went through such a character development throughout this story. He started out as a fearful young man and became a leader in the Hermes Society after he witnessed his best friend pass, his brother pass, and so many other people suffer from this. His plot to collapse the Tower of Babel was so significant for many reasons. Just the imagery itself, from a biblical standpoint, but also from what the institution itself represented. It represented, yes, collection of knowledge, but also stolen knowledge from foreign places in an intent to take advantage of them. So the fact that I was actually shocked he got some people to volunteer to stay with him, because to take down the tower, he could not do this by himself. He needed people at the 4 points, I think it was 4 points in the tower, to take it down with him, and it had to be done from the inside. So everyone knew this was a mission they were not coming back from. And it was a beautiful, tragic, but beautiful ending to the story. It certainly made fictional England suffer, because up until their occupation of Babel and how everything was, collapsing in England because they needed the silver bars to do basic functions like keep the sewers clean, keep the carriages running, keep the tower, the bridges, keep the bridges from collapsing. It just showed how much they relied on foreign parts to keep their location running. And it's R.F. Kuang did her thing with this. Like, I think I'm going to have to read Calabasas, but I have so many other books. You can't even see the full TBR list behind me. But I have so many books to read through. So let me know, how did you like Babel? Have you read Calabasas? Is it a similar theme? Which one do you think is better? And maybe I'll make it skip to the front of the line of my TBR list. But signing off for now. Hope you guys enjoyed it.